Welcome to episode 70 of the Epilogue Lady podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as ArcticCrafts, on Facebook and Etsy as ArcticCrafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as ArcticCrafts65. There is also a group on Ravelry for the podcast, and there's a coffee page if you would like to buy me a cup of coffee. A virtual cup of coffee, of course. There's no make-alongs in the group at the moment, but there will be one starting April 1st, and it's the Tea Time Mal 2022, and it's for short-sleeved sweaters. Knit or crochet, and I haven't said you have to use a cotton yarn or anything, just short-sleeved sweater. And it doesn't have to be a tee pattern. It could be just the sweater pattern that you knit with short sleeves. So, but that's April 1st. So if you're planning a short-sleeved sweater, just so you know, you can, but whips will be allowed. Whips are always allowed in my make-alongs. And we will talk more about that make-along when it's getting closer. We're only in the middle of February. So that's it for the introductions. The weather is nice here at the moment. We've gotten quite a bit of snow, and thankfully we have an agreement with some local who has a tractor with a snowblower, and he does a run through our neighborhood whenever there's quite a bit of snow, and he's been here today, and so hopefully there won't be a lot of more snow coming this weekend, so I have to go outside and shovel. I don't want to. Still on my first cup of coffee for the day, or my only cup of coffee. I basically have that one, but it's a big cup. I'm getting to the age where I struggle sleeping, and caffeine doesn't help, but I need my cup of coffee in the morning. Enough about coffee and tractors and stuff like that. We're here to talk about knitting. But first of all, I have some admin, and it's a coupon code. My good friend Sue in Canada has given my viewers a 15% off coupon code that's running until March 11th. It's starting today and it's running until March 11th, and the coupon code is BBH for Bente's Bag of Holding 15. BBH 15. I'll put it down below, and of course I'll link to her shop in my show notes in the description bar below. So that's my admin. I haven't got any more admin. I have something else to tell you, but I'll do it when I'm going through my FOs. So what I'm wearing one of my FOs, and this is the On the Beach by Isabel Kraemer, that I knit up in some commercial wool acrylic yarn. The yarn is Colorina by Hobbii, and I haven't got the colorway name at the top of my head, but I will list it down below, and you can as well go to my project page on Ravelry. That's the same for whenever you wonder what yarn I've used and what needles I've used and stuff like that for my projects. Just check my project pages on Ravelry. I don't do notes, I don't do a lot of elaborate things on my project pages, but I list the yarn I've used, and I'm listing the needles normally. So that's the On the Beach. I love this sweater. I have one that I knit previously, and it's waist shaped, and it's sort of an A-line because you end up with a little more stitches down here, because your the waist shaping is basically just increases. But I really love the shape of this sweater, so I'm going to knit more of them. But this is an FO this time. And I have another sweater, FO. And it's another stripes by Andrea Mowry. I knit this with the last one I knit with 3.25 millimeter needles. This one I knit with 3.5, so it's a tiny bit bigger. It's knit with just 3 colors this time that I've repeated all throughout the sweater. And I still have a bit of yarn left, but so it works if you want to knit just 3 colors. There's enough with 3 skeins of yarn. And you have the colorways I've used. This is only 2 different dyers. It's Garnbutikken Fortuna, a Norwegian dyer, and it's me. So the colorways are, hold it a bit closer to the camera. This is My Harvest Moon, and this is Jul I 40 Brakkan from Garnbutikken Fortuna, and this is Natt I Gruvebyen. And I love this. This is a bit outside my comfort zone, but I really love the combinations. I normally don't wear a lot of brown or blue. She's saying wearing a blue sweater. So but I really love this color combination, and I've already worn this sweater quite a bit. So that's my second sweater FO. And I have one more FO that I'm going to talk a bit about, because this is sort of a collaboration. This is a shawl by Annie Baker of Annie Baker's Designs, and the pattern name is Little Buds. It's a new pattern, and it's 15% off on Ravelry until Sunday. And the yarn, she contacted me because she thought that my epilogue lady would be perfect for this shawl, because intentional pooling, and the technique I used for the epilogue lady shawl, the epilogue lady colorway, works perfectly with intentional pooling. But we started talking, and we figured I should dye up a custom colorway for this shawl, and I'm not going to wear it because I'm too hot. And the custom colorway, we agreed on pink and undyed, and this is the result. It's a tonal pink. There are 3 different pinks in this, and it's 85% pink, 15% undyed. And the colorway is called Snow Buds because I wanted to play on the buds. So this is Snow Buds, and I just used 1 skein. The pattern calls for, I think it's about 600 meters, and I used 1 skein, so I blocked mine a bit aggressively to make it big enough with just 1 skein. But as you can see, 1 skein works. It's big enough to wear. So I have a few skeins of Snowbuds in my shop on Fine Merino Fingering. I also have 1 skein of Epilogue Lady on Polldale if you want to try that. There will be I've dyed up enough, so if you want 2 skeins you can get 2 skeins, and you can also of course buy 1 and do what I did and use 1 skein. So it's a versatile pattern. I was tempted to try with just 1 skein when I knit the sample, just to see if it would work, and it does. So it's up to you how big you want it. because it's the type of pattern where you knit and knit until you run out of yarn. You don't have to worry about turning when you get halfway through or something. You just keep on knitting until you think it's big enough or you run out of yarn. So it's a really versatile pattern, and it's a really fun knit, and it's kind of mindless as well. And it's always, and it's and if you're worried about the placement of these, because it's intentional pooling, so you do a stitch pattern whenever the contrast color shows up, and if you can play around a bit with gauge to spread them out. If you see that you get one, if you don't want one of these, if you want them to spread a bit, you can just play around with gauge. Either you can knit a portion that you knit looser, intentionally looser, or tighter, because when you block it, this will even out, and then you can adjust the placement of the contrast color just a bit. And that's so you don't have, if you feel like they're stacking and you get them on top of each other, just play around with gauge to adjust the placement of them. And I told you that was 15% off until Sunday, and that's Annie Baker Designs, and I'll link the pattern down below, of course. So those are my FOs, and I have a couple of hose. I've knit this. Maybe this is going to be a sample pattern, a sample sock, but I haven't cast on the second sock yet, but hopefully I will do soon, so I have a pair. But if I'm going to use this as a sample, I might not bother knitting the second sock. But it's really fun, so I think I'm going to have to finish these so I can wear them. And this is my self-striping. It's Glamrock on self-striping, and I've used a grey commercial sock yarn for the heel and toe. And what I do when I knit self-striping socks to make sure they match, I start casting on exactly at the color change, where one stripe goes into the other, and I start casting on there. So the cast on edge is one color, so you see the cast on edge is grey, and then I start knitting, and I do exactly the same thing on the second sock, because I like the sock being stripy all the way up, so there's stripes in the ribbing as well. And with 100 grams I know that I have plenty for a pair of socks, so I don't have to use a contrast to make the yarn last longer. If I use a 50 gram skein, I use a contrast for the ribbing to make sure I have enough for a pair of socks. So this is the first sock of a pair. It's my normal vanilla. It's 64 stitches on 2.25 millimeter needles, between 12 and 15 rows of ribbing, 2x2 ribbing. With self-striping, I stop at a color change. And on this one I've used a short row heel, and that's also something I normally do with self-striping to not interrupt the stripes too much. And it's a wedge toe, standard wedge toe with a Kitchener at the end. So that's my first sock in my pair with Glamrock self-striping. I have Glamrock self-striping in the shop. And the second hoe I have is in this bag by the Tangled Skein CA, the shop where we have the coupon code 15% BBH 15. And I already told you that, and the details are down below. This is a DK sock. It's the Choose Your House socks by Kay Jones. Was part of her Swish and Flick collective. And the yarn is sparkly DK, Merino DK, Merino nylon DK from Countess Ablaze, who unfortunately has stopped dyeing, but I have quite a few skeins of Countess Ablaze in my stash. They're a bit more precious now that I know that I can't get any more, but I'll use them anyway. And this is how far I've gotten on the second sock. As you can see, I'm knitting these magic loop. And not sure why I decided to do the magic loop, because I normally don't knit socks magic loop. But these I'm doing magic loop. And I'm really scared, because this is what I have left. But I think I have enough. I should have enough, because I've got quite far down the foot. Worst case scenario, the toe on the second sock will be a different color. I have DK nylon sock yarn in stash, because that's what my DK has nylon in it, so there won't be a problem. So that's my second hoe, and this bag is a sweater bag, but I have two different sock projects in here at the moment. And the second one is on DPNs, and this is also my standard sock pattern. Only difference is I have used I have a heel flap and gusset on this one. I used the heel flap and gusset from the everyday, the Hermione's everyday socks. That's the one I use when I knit the heel flap and gusset. And the yarn is from Opal. It's an Opal Surprise, and the colorway is 4061. And it's a fun rainbow. This is a pair of socks that I'm knitting on now and then when I get tired of my bigger projects. So that's another whip, and those are my whips. And I suddenly realized I've forgotten to bring something, so here we go. I have to leave you for a moment. So, professional as always. I told you about me knitting a Fair Isle sweater for my son, the Finch by I'm going to put the picture up beside me, and the name of the designer escapes me, so I'll put that down below. And the problem with the sweater, when I started, I bought all the yarn and I was really excited to start it, and then I looked at then I was going to knit the swatch, and I looked up the gauge in the pattern, and it was 37 stitches per 10 centimeters. That's not doable for me. And I checked the yardage on the yarn, and it's almost a bit thicker than the yarn I'm going to use. So I figured, no, 37 stitches per 10 centimeters, that's not doable. And because it was, I got 26 stitches per 10 centimeters in the gauge I was comfortable with. I want the fabric to, I don't want the fabric so dense it's like wearing cardboard, if you know what I mean. I don't want it to be bulletproof. So I ended up with 26 stitches for 10 centimeters. And because of the big discrepancy, I couldn't use the pattern at all. It wasn't possible. So I was sort of deflated, and I thought, I bought the yarn, what am I supposed to do? And I was playing around with using a different pattern, and I went and I visited my neighbor. I visit her about daily because she lives next door, and she used to run the local yarn shop. I need more coffee. She used to run the local yarn shop, so she has quite an extensive library of patterns. And she asked me about the yardage of the yarn I was going to use, and she found me this. It's almost vintage. But the thing was, the yarn used for the sweaters in this is almost identical to yardage wise and gauge wise with the yarn I'm going to use. So we found this cardigan. It's got the same shape as the sweater I want to knit for my son. Of course it's a cardigan, but I'll just knit it in the round. This is steeked all the way. There's a steek in the front and there's a steek in the sleeves. So I'm going to use this pattern. Or maybe, let's see, where's the other one I was thinking about? This one. That's also a possibility. It's the same yarn. So I'm going to use this pattern, and I'm using the chart from the Finch. So I'll just have to do some math to figure out where I'm placing the chart on the sweater. So let me show you some of the yarn. This is, I use that for, I'm going to show you a skein that I haven't used anything from. It's the Navia Duo. It's the same yarn I used for Hobbii sweater, and I really love knitting with it. So and it's affordable as well. I bought mine at Hobbii, and they have an international web store that sells this yarn. So the colors I picked are this green. I'm not sure where I'm going to place these as I'm showing them to you. We have those two. This. I have everything in one bag. So this could take some time. I'll just pick out these. I wanted a grey. In the pattern is a light brown, but I wanted a grey. The bag, by the way, is from Busy Pottering, and I love this bag. She doesn't sell bags anymore, unfortunately. So I showed you that's green, and I ordered this brown, but I didn't like it with the rest of the colors, and then I remembered I had 2 skeins left of this grey from Rauma. It's the same yardage basically as this, so I'm using a charcoal grey instead of this brown in the sweater. And I use for the blues, I'm using leftovers from Hobbii sweater, and there's a couple of colors, and I have this green. I think those are all the colors. Yeah, I have it's like a surprise. Just put your hand in and see what you get. The yarn in the original pattern was a yarn that you bought in 100-gram skeins, and it listed 1 skein of each of the colors, but I thought some of the colors it wasn't necessary with 100 grams. So some of the colors that you use the least of, I bought 50-gram balls, 1 50-gram ball. If I should run out, I could always order 1 more ball, because even though I won't be getting the same dye lot in a fair oil sweater, when you only use tiny bits of the color, a tiny bit of difference between 2 dye lots won't matter, unless there's a big difference, but that shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to knit another gauge swatch just in case, because I now have a different pattern. So I have to knit the gauge swatch for this pattern, and I have to do some maths to find out where I'm placing the chart on this sweater. I'm going to center it. So I'm starting in the middle and I'm counting out the same way I do when I knit the sleeves of a patterned sweater. I'll just start in the middle and count out to both ends, and I'm going to do a pearl 4 seam purl stitch in the sides and then start over again. So it won't go all the way around, it would be centered in the middle and then as far as it goes, and then start over again the same way. That was a really complicated explanation for something that's really easy, but I'm just going to have to sit down and do some maths. And that sweater will be a whip next time because I'm casting it on as soon as I'm finished editing this podcast. I might do a Bentes bag of holding about that sweater, just to show you my technique for knitting with 3 colors and how to switch out, use a chart from one sweater on a different sweater. If you want me to explain how I'm doing that in a better way than I just did. So if there's any interest in that, I might do a Bentes bag of holding about that. So that's it for whips. And then I only have show and tell and shameless self-promotion left. I actually have a yarn acquisition this time. One of the dyers, I bought yarn from them a few times. They've been donating parts of their profits to charity, Mad Scientist Yarns. And they have stopped dyeing and they did the clearance sale. And they did the clearance sale in a really fun way. They sold everything as mystery bundles. So you got quite a lot of yarn for your money plus extras. And you didn't know what you was going to get. So this is the yarn I got. I got this skein of, I'm calling it the Mad Batch. So I guess this is maybe a one of a kind. And it's a sparkly, it's 75% merino, 20% nylon and 5% lurex. So it's one of those really sparkly ones. And I got 2 minis. This is their neon mini purple, and it's a heavy twist, or high twist, sorry. It actually looks a lot like my Nebula colorway. And I also got this really bright orange. It's also a neon mini. And I think it's the same. And high twist is really durable, and sturdy. So I'm going to use these as heels and toes in socks. I just know it. And I got 100% Corriedale in some gorgeous greens and blues. And because it's 100% Corriedale, this is also Mad Batch. And because this is 100% Corriedale, I don't think I'm going to use it for socks. I might use this as a contrast color in a sweater, or I might gift it. I'm not sure, but what I have decided is that this skein is going to be one of the prizes in the Arctic Summer of Socks. This skein. And I also got some extras. I got 2 pins. This one and this one. Let's see if it's going to focus. Nah, it won't focus. And a set of progress keepers. These might also, some of these might also be added to this for the price for the Arctic Summer of Socks. I'm going to have several prizes for the Arctic Summer of Socks, but I've started gathering them already. So that's my acquisition. I don't think I have more yarn coming my way, So hopefully it will be here before the next episode, so I can show you then. So what remains is my shameless self-promotion, and I have been dyeing a little bit of yarn, and if you've seen my latest episode of Bente's Bag of Holding, you've seen me dyeing some of this. I'm just going to take this and put it here. And now you can see the mess behind it. Professional, as I said, really professional. This is a skein of Chaotic Good on zebra sock. And this is one of the colorways I dyed in my Bag of Holding episode. And I dyed up 2 skeins of Highland Sport. This is an affordable sport weight yarn. It's non-superwash Highland wool. It's 300 meters to 100 grams. And these are the colorways Plum Jam and Tidal Wave on Highland Sport. I have dyed up some Vincent on Polldale. And I've dyed up some Corriedale, Bente's Bag of Holding. As you can see, it's totally different on Corriedale, because Corriedale non-superwash. And I've knit up something I ended up calling a winter sunrise, inspired by a picture I took. I can put up the picture I took on the side. I'm regretting using Corriedale because the colors are much more muted on Corriedale non-superwash. And I dyed up some Rhapsody in blue on Surrey Silk Cloud. And I dyed up, this is a new colorway that I'm really pleased with. And I dyed it up on worsted. I normally don't do experiments on worsted, but I have a lot of worsted in stock. By the way, my sweater quantity sale is still on. If you order 4 or more skeins on worsted or DK, you get one of the skeins for free. Just so you know, it's still running in my shop. And because it's custom orders, I do that when I send you, when you pay for the custom order. So that's the only way to get 4 or more skeins, the same colorway in my shop. You have to contact me and do a custom order. And this is my new colorway, and the name sort of just popped into my head. It's Lichen. So that's my new colorway on worsted. I'm going to dye it up on fingering weight as well, just to have in the shop. So Lichen, new colorway. And then I dyed up some sock sets. My two new colorways on 50 plus 20, so 50 grams and 20 grams, and on Polldale sock. So this is Epilogue Lady and Bente's Bag of Holding as sock sets. And I also dyed up an oldie but goodie, Carrot Cake, as sock sets, and this is on my DK nylon, XR Merino DK with nylon. So and I always have 2 minis with my DK sock sets, because a DK mini it's not enough yarn for cuffs, heels and toes on 2 socks. So you need to play around a bit and use 2 different colors. So it's 100 grams of sock yarn. If you knit shorter socks, there's enough for a pair of socks without the minis, but I normally just sell this as sock sets. I have 100-gram skeins of XR Merino DK in stock from time to time, so if you have your own DK contrast, you can do the same with your own minis, or leftover yarn for that matter. So that was it for Shameless self-promotion, and that was it for content. Because I haven't done a lot on knitting lately, I don't have a lot to talk about. I have one thing I've been doing quite a bit of. I've fallen down the rabbit hole. And this is mainly because of a podcaster, Crafternoon Treats. Because she has a few different things she does, and she normally does a bit on YouTube about them. And I was watching one of her episodes on junk journaling, and I thought it looked like a lot of fun. So I decided maybe I should try that, and then I fell down the rabbit hole hard. Because I realized that there are loads of Etsy shops that sell printables of everything from vintage journal paper to tags, envelopes, pockets, and I found a YouTube video about how to fold up an envelope from scrapbook paper. So, as I said, fallen down the rabbit hole big time. And this is the book I'm using. This is my book. And the thing is, this book have all blank pages. And the reason is I made this book when I went to school to learn about graphic design and photo editing. Part of the course was bookbinding. You had to do a 9 to 10 week course in bookbinding. So I made this from scratch, and I decided this would be the perfect book to use for junk journaling. I know you're supposed to remove some of the pages in the book you're using. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. I'm not sure how to do it. I'm not sure how many pages I should remove. So what I did to start with, I did it really easy. You're probably not supposed to do it like that, but this is my junk journal. I do what I like. And these are printables that I got from Etsy, and in the back I've done a little bit more. This is a pocket. I had the tag in here, but it's fallen out. So I started with the insides, and this I'm going to cover this with a different pattern. I've ordered some scrapbook paper online, so I'm going to replace this, or not replace it, I'm going to place something different on top, and I'm going to figure out how to remove pages in here. I've been scared to remove pages before I know exactly how to do it, and because I made the book myself, it's not precious or anything, but I made several of these, but I've gifted them to use for journals. So, and as you see, it's all blank pages in here, so I don't have to cover anything up. And if I want text, or if I want proper pages, I could always buy a cheap book and tear it apart, I guess. But as I said, I've fallen down the rabbit hole. I don't know, I'm not doing it correctly, probably. I haven't done it before, but you have to start somewhere. And I guess all the really good people doing this on YouTube, they also started somewhere. So that's one of the things I've been doing instead of knitting. And I've been dyeing yarn, and I've been doing some admin for the shop, and now it started snowing again, so I was a bit distracted because I didn't want any more snow. Because I don't want to go out and shovel snow, because now the driveway is perfect. The tractor just was here. So I didn't want that to happen. So I have been dyeing a bit of yarn, and I've been doing some admin for the shop. I've been planning a bit when it comes to the advents I'm doing, both the Halloween advent and the Christmas advent. I've put up a schedule. I've decided to put them out early and then order the yarn that I need, according to how many I actually sold, just to make sure. I haven't got the finances to buy a lot of yarn that I may not sell, so that's why I do it like that. The only thing is Etsy punishes you if you have you can't put more than 10 weeks processing time in Etsy, and if you don't ship out stuff in time, they punish you. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send out the shipping notification when I have to. I'm putting 10 weeks processing time, and as soon as that is passed, I'm going to send out the shipping notification, even though I'm not shipping anything. But I'm of course going to explain this in the listing in the shop, so people know that it's shipping at the set date, no matter when you get the shipping notification, if you understand what I mean. But that's for later, because I'm putting up the Halloween first, of course. But that's for later. And we're going to talk more about the advents when it's getting close to the time I'm putting them up in the shop. So I'm going to put up, I'm not sure, about 10 or something, because I can't put up more than I have the capacity to dye, because I have to dye these during the summer holidays, and I'll probably have one, if not both, of my sons here, and I want to spread the dyeing out a bit, so I don't have to stand in the kitchen dyeing night and day for a week. I want to spread it out, so I have several weeks of dyeing time. And that was my epilogue this time, I think. I haven't got any more stuff to talk about, and I didn't have a lot of knitting to show you. I tend to have FOs and not whips, but I'm starting a big whip later today. So I'll see you for my podcast in 2 weeks. There will be a Bentes bag of holding before then. I probably can guarantee you that. I'm not sure of content yet, but there will be a Bentes bag of holding before I'm back with the podcast. So I'll see you when that shows up. And if you're only interested in the podcast, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I hope you have a really nice weekend, and I'll see you later.